Hello, this is my Crazy Ex channel. Please subscribe.
Wife was leaving me for someone else. He just died. Story 1-2. Back in March, I 33 meters found out my wife 30F was having an affair after 15 years of being together. Completely broke my heart. I wanted a divorce originally, but opted to see if we could work on things. Our version of work on things is always to move past things and pretend they never happened. Obviously not healthy, and I wish looking back we did something differently: couples therapy, communicate better, etc. From March-August, things were okay. We pretended like it never happened, and since we never truly dealt with it, you could tell things were off, even though we continued to put a smile on our faces. In August, she admitted that she still had feelings for this other guy. August-December, we continued to live together, but we were growing apart. She was texting the other guy, though claiming that she was not. She wanted a divorce. I was not ready to want that, though deep down I knew that there was no way our relationship could ever return to normal. I was holding out for how things were in the past. She was prepared to begin moving on with her life, but also was trying to be there for me as I grieved, which in hindsight probably gave me some false hope. I had finally come to grips with things over the past 2 weeks. A lot of therapy and talking to friends got me to a point where, though I didn't want to lose my best friend, I understood it had to be over for everyone's sake. My wife was planning on moving forward with the guy she had the affair with. He lived out of state, but he eventually intended to move here so that they could be together. I knew it would be a tough transition for me, but I was slowly ready to do it, and began working on bettering myself for my future job promotion, therapy, lost 25 pounds, quitting alcohol and getting a gym membership, etc. The other day, I found out he unexpectedly passed away. I had always hoped that they would not remain together out of pure selfish spite, but now seeing how broken my soon-to-be ex-wife is, I am completely devastated for her. I'm devastated that my marriage is over, but also devastated that her whole life is forever changed. I'm devastated that a person lost their life at a young age, regardless that he had a hand in my marriage ending. No one deserves that to happen. And as much as I wanted to hate this guy, he did seem like a good person otherwise. As crazy as that sounds, I can't even come to grips that this has happened to me, to her, to this guy. It feels like no one is winning or coming out better in the end here. It seems like nothing but sadness for everyone involved. I've tried talking to friends and my therapist, but I can't make sense of any of this anymore. People have told me I should cut off my ex and let her grieve, but she's been my closest friend for a decade and a half regardless of our marriage ending. I can't imagine not being there for her. I was finally getting to a place where I could see some sort of light at the end of the tunnel of my marriage being over, but now I just see a long road of everyone grieving for so many reasons, and everyone being changed forever, probably in a negative way, because of this. TLD, our wife had an affair earlier this year. She was planning to divorce me and start a life with this guy, but he just passed away unexpectedly this week. Edit, I just want to add, for those that are stating I should still move forward with the divorce, you can be sure that my intention is to do just that. I am not looking at this as an opportunity to be her second choice now. Edit 2, I guess I should watch A Serious Man very, very soon based on a lot of comments. For those asking how he died, I would prefer to not go into details out of respect for any family friend of his that may also be on Reddit, so as to not give away anyone's identity. Lastly, for the mathematicians that are automatically assuming we were 15 and 18 when we began dating, hats off to you for simply thinking subtracting 15 years from our current age tells you the exact age we were when we met. Good on you to not consider birthdays or when exactly the 15-year anniversary was. Edit 3, I've seen a few people call me a simp. Rest assured that is not an insult. I'm 33, I have no idea what these teenage words mean, nor care to know. I also saw a couple comments saying this was fake. I 100% wish it were, because then it would mean I'm not going through a pretty horrible mental health situation the past 10 months. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, you're suffering from ambiguous loss. I encourage you to explore this concept. While your ex-wife is suffering from actual loss, you're mourning someone who is still very much with us. And she isn't mourning you. Spending time apart and allowing yourself to go through the stages are going to be paramount to your future happiness. Denial and depression are gonna be mountains to climb, but you're smart and you got a support system, therapy and friends. Lean on your support system just like you've let others lean on you. You can climb this. I did. Many of us have been here. How you heal from it says more about you than any defining characteristic from your 15-year relationship. Avoid things that trigger you. Reconnect with the things you loved to do before you were in a relationship. Find that dude again. I bet he's a great guy. Redditor follow-up. Lean on your support system just like you've let others lean on you. I'm gonna save this for later. Redditor 2. Continue with the divorce. Don't settle for being second best. That guy may be gone, but there are plenty of others out there, and if she cheated once, she'll do it again. Redditor follow-up. This grief doesn't suddenly make a bad person a good person. You keep saying best friend, but best friends don't betray each other. If you try to hang on to the marriage, you will simply go through this again later. Redditor 3. You're a good man, exhibiting far more empathy, sympathy and goddamn humanity that could reasonably be expected of anyone in your situation. You should be proud of that, and nurture the goodness it represents. But don't let it blind you to the fact that you need to look after yourself here, establish emotional boundaries and make sure you are able to move on and find someone new to share that decency with. Redditor 4. Lost 25 pounds, gave up alcohol, you're improving your life, keep it up. Redditor 5. Do not stay with her. Redditor follow-up. Additionally, do not support her in her own grief. Cut her out and work on yourself. See, the thing is, you might have been friends for 15 years, but she threw all that away by cheating on you. It's over. The other guy died. That's a tragedy, but honestly that has to be her problem now. Your marriage is over, but your life isn't. Work on yourself. Grieve the end of that relationship separately from her and give yourself space. It's time for a new chapter. Redditor 6. She was ready to transition over to her new relationship. No fucks given about your relationship or your 15-year friendship. She is devastated more about this guy she's been seeing than losing you or that friendship you had. You seem like a good guy, but you need to cut her off and move on. Redditor follow-up. Exactly my thoughts as an uninvolved observer. I imagine cutting her out would be cathartic eventually and the path of least resistance moving forward. For op though, it's so much more complicated, as it would be for anyone actually finding themselves dealing with this in real life. Very difficult situation. Redditor 7. Your wife is a terrible person. Redditor follow-up. Exactly. Sorry, but it sounds like op has Stockholm Syndrome and refuses to cut her out of his life. Had this been me, I'd drop her ass and move on. Doesn't matter how she feels, she's entirely irrelevant. Redditor 8. You are a better person than me. 'Cause I'd hold that shit over her head forever. Also have some self-respect for yourself. She wouldn't give a shit if he was still alive. Redditor 9. Dude, don't. Cut her out of your life for your own mental health. She cheated, she lied, she broke you and most likely laughed with the other guy about you. She is not worth a second of your time and pity. Move on for your own sake. Redditor 10. My God, you're compassionate. How can one be so compassionate? I would personally find lots of humor in that dude's death if I were you. It would legitimately make me feel so good to know that not only did she ruin both of your lives and marriage, but now she's got nothing to show for it. Zero sadness would be experienced on my end and I'd tell her to duck right off. I aspire to be as empathetic as you are one day. Probably won't happen, but it's a nice thought. Redditor follow-up. I replied to the main thread below with my story and how his relates very closely to mine, but you said what I tried to in much more concise terms. Summary. My wife had an affair with an out-of-state man who had an affair on his wife and destroyed 2 marriages to be together. It was awful. I'd always said bad things happen to bad people and held on to the thought that once a cheater always a cheater. Found out a couple years after she moved out there and married him that she caught him cheating, doing the same shit he did with her that ruined our marriage with another woman. Apparently it broke her, but she's still with him because of everything that went on. I smile a lot more when I think about that fact. Redditor 11. She may have been your best friend, but you were certainly not her best friend. While you were grieving the end of your marriage, she was planning her new life with her new best friend. Redditor follow-up. Just what I was thinking. She decided to cheat on op, to betray his trust and care and still, To lead him on by being so ambiguous when she knew she didn't want to stay. And Op forgave her, even when he was barely digesting the loss of his marriage, and she was just so ready to begin her life with someone else. She never cared, or it doesn't seem that she ever cared for the hurt she caused. Op, I get she was your best friend, but she needs to process this loss and grieve her AP alone. You can't burn yourself anymore to keep her comfortable. Redditor 12, downvote me all you want, but reading how you're grieving for your wife's feelings and the guy that stole her instead shows exactly why she walked away. Stand up for yourself. Duck her. Redditor follow up, I swear, bro ass grieving with her and her affair dying WTF, it seem harsh but damn he gotta grow some nuts. Duck em both. I hate it for him but man I know he can snatch his dignity back. Redditor 13, this is karma right out of a Victorian novel. Obviously the calculation is different if kids are involved, but she made this decision twice. On the other hand you've done remarkable things for yourself. My opinion is your marriage is over and her grief is her own and fully earned. Go on about your business. I'm very sorry you were cheated on and that your marriage broke up. Redditor 14, hilarious. Redditor 15, your friends are right. Your ex who deeply betrayed you has to grieve someone. She has to grieve the guy that she chose to leave you for. Sounds like her problem. Have some self-respect and leave this mess for herself. You have a bad relationship to dust yourself off from. Don't let her continue to drag you down. Redditor 16, run away from her, leave her in the damn dust as she would to you. Karma is a B. Redditor 17, you are wasting entirely too much emotional energy on people other than yourself. Redditor 18, you don't have to feel bad for your wife or for this man's death. They both played active roles in ruining your happiness as you knew it, and it's okay to be mad at them for it. I know I would. You don't owe either of them your sympathy and please trust and even assume that your wife will not get over his death by realizing that she still loves you and only you. You can 100% put yourself first because it's what she did, and it's okay to leave her still. Redditor 19, your wife is a spunk bucket, move on. Redditor 20, she wanted to move on, so should you. Sad that her bit on the side died, but hey, it happened to the best of us. Carry on with the legal split and don't feel bad about your ex, she made her choices, now she had to live with them. Good luck, keep strong. Redditor follow up, you know who doesn't have to live with them, is the ex-wife's dead boyfriend. Story 2-2. Mill cheated on her husband Sphil and now my wife and I are fighting. My wife and I, both 35, have been together for 10 years. We generally have a great relationship. My Mill and Sphil have been together for about 15 years. Mill is not a nice person in general, but the way she treats and talks to Sphil has always bothered me. I don't like Mill as a person but have always been kind and friendly with her. About a week ago, Sphil called my wife and told her that Mill was cheating on him again. Previous time was about 3 years ago and they decided to work through it and that they are going to separate because he is tired of being treated like this and having to kiss her ass. The main thing he talked about was wanting to keep in touch with us and that he's still just one phone call away. We've always had a great relationship with him, so this makes perfect sense. I could hear the entire conversation and felt sick to my stomach for Sphil. I felt angry that Mill couldn't just be a decent person and end the relationship before moving on. Mill doesn't know that Sphil called or that we know anything. My wife decided that she was just going to sit on the information for a few days and not respond or engage, which I thought was a really good idea. I understand that it's not really our business, even though this information had been thrust upon us. Well, Friday my Mill called and my wife went into another room and shut the door to have a conversation. I did hear that Mill is still planning a trip to see us this summer and their house is going on the market when their mortgage comes up for renewal in August. At the end of the call, my wife came out of the room with it on speakerphone. Mill said hey up like she was the cheeriest, happiest person. I gave back a very unenthusiastic hi that I will admit sounded rude. As soon as my wife hung up, she lost it on me. She went to the bedroom and slammed the door about 8 times. I was confused honestly. So during the argument that followed, here are some of the key points. S-Phil is weak and pathetic for airing their dirty laundry and that it's none of our business. S-Phil is manipulating us to feel sympathetic towards him and wife is pissed off that it worked on me. Wife thinks they're both idiots and is angry at them both equally. Wife thinks we are supposed to pretend we don't know this information. Wife now needs to explain my rude behavior to Mil. Wife thinks I'm making this more difficult on her and that I'm inconsiderate. I honestly thought this was a wild overreaction. Especially the part about S-Phil being weak for wanting to talk about what happened. I've had friends confess their issues with partners' infidelity and would never shame them for it. I also didn't know we were supposed to pretend we don't know. Had my wife communicated this with me, I would have said hi in a better tone. I apologized to my wife multiple times. I told my wife that I would call or text Mil and apologize for my short response and tell her I was just in a bad mood about sports team or something along those lines. It didn't have to be about Mil at all, especially when she doesn't think I know anything about their marital situation anyway. There has been no further discussion on this. We hardly spoke all day Saturday and I'm worried today will be the same. I feel like I'm at a complete loss of anything else to do or say other than continuing to apologize. I understand my wife may be processing this information differently and could be having a rough time, but she's not talking about it with me. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. TLDR, wife is upset and thinks I'm inconsiderate regarding Mil's infidelity. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, I apologized to my wife multiple times. I told my wife that I would call or text Mil and apologize for my short response and tell her I was just in a bad mood about sports team or something along those lines. Wow, why would you apologize? Seems to me that you are not standing up for yourself and your beliefs. Seems like your wife and Mil are in control of your household. Your wife is repeating the same behavior that your Mil did to her ex and STBXH. Redditor follow-up. Op is great at seeing how badly his S-Phil is being treated, but unable to recognize that his wife acts the same. Chances are he's if anything more blind to what is happening to him. Redditor 2, you are not the one who is in the wrong here. You shouldn't apologize to your wife like that. She threw a temper tantrum, and it worked. Think about this objectively. Tell her to grow up and behave like an adult. Your Mil is the one in the wrong. I honestly feel like this is emotional abuse on your wife's part. Maybe you need marriage counseling. But basically the relationship dynamic seems to be that she is the one who is in charge, and you meekly go along with whatever she decides, and she uses these tantrums as a weapon to gaslight you and make you apologize. Redditor follow up, she threw a temper tantrum, and it worked. Think about this objectively. Exactly, he is reinforcing that this bad behavior is a successful strategy. She will only escalate. Redditor 3, what? You're supposed to act like nothing is wrong when you know Mil treated her husband like crap and cheated multiple times? Tell your wife you'll explain your behavior to Mil yourself. Hi, Mil. Sorry I was so short with you the other day. I didn't realize we were supposed to pretend we didn't know you cheated on your husband again. Next time I'll fake more enthusiasm. Redditor 4, why are you apologizing to your wife? You did nothing wrong. Also big red flag wave from your wife for calling your S-Phil weak, pathetic, and manipulative. Ask her how he was responsible for her mother cheating on him twice. Pay attention to her answer so you'll understand when she does it to you. If Mil discussed selling the house, she probably also discussed them getting divorced. Ask your wife for details of her conversation with her mother. Guarantee she manipulated the facts to make herself look like some kind of victim. Personally, if I was in your position, I would be having a serious discussion with my wife about her reaction because it is not normal. Redditor follow up, weak, pathetic on the one hand and manipulative on the other are more or less mutually exclusive. Which proves that wife is talking BS here. And I wouldn't apologize more than once. Once is in this case more than enough. After that, it's her problem. Please come and talk to me when you're reasonable again. Redditor 5, she slammed the door 8 times because all you said was hi to her mother? This is a wild overreaction. Redditor follow up, I would be very concerned if my spouse had this reaction to her mother's multiple affairs. She has the nerve to be angry at op? Yikes. Redditor 6, either you're leaving info out or your Mil is a glimpse into the future of what life will be like with your wife if you don't run. Redditor follow up, Right BC, I feel like things couldn't possibly have been going that well for them if this situation that has nothing to really do with either of them is enough to drive a wedge between the two of them. Redditor 7, I think you have bigger problems because someone who is the okay with cheating is probably a cheater themselves. Plus your wife was raised by a cheater. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it probably will, sorry to say. Redditor 8, your wife is an Redditor 9, apologizing to your wife? Yeah, next time you're about to apologize when she cheats on you. Sad. Redditor 10, honestly, it sounds like your wife is processing it, but also probably embarrassed and upset at her mother. I don't think you need to apologize any further. Your wife did overreact in my opinion, but I realize she is upset. However, there seems to be a big communication issue between you guys. Has it always been like this? Do you have kids together? Redditor follow up, his wife needs to apologize and grow the hell up before they can even begin to think about moving past this. I understand why she's upset, but she is literally behaving like an infant. There's no hope of communicating with someone this immature. Redditor 11, it sounds like your wife needs help. A normal person does not slam a door 8 times. That's more like a toddler having a tantrum. Redditor 12, you are the figurative S-fill. I'm not sure why this hasn't occurred to you yet. Your wife is as horrible as her mom and you are being treated like a lapdog, same as S-fill. This is also your future. Hopefully you don't have kids. Redditor 13, this is pretty worrying behavior TBH. Not only did your wife get hyper-aggressive over nothing, how she spoke about the S-fill was gross. Either your wife is just a legit shitty person, or her mom is manipulating her into acceptance. Either way, not a good look for someone who is married. You can stay neutral and still not approve of something, but how your wife reacted is throwing up a lot of warning signs emo. Redditor 14, since you're acting as weak as S-fill, maybe your wife is ducking someone else too. Redditor 15, I think the balance of your own relationship are treading into dangerous waters if you're expected to apologize to your wife for upholding your principles. And expected to apologize to her for not showing fake enthusiasm to someone who is an abusive cheater. Sounds to me like your wife is bringing in her mother's relationship dynamic into her own marriage. I personally think you should talk to your wife, ask her if she actually thinks her Mills behavior, cheating, abuse, degradation of her partner is equally as bad as her S-fill expressing unhappiness, showing weakness, seeking emotional support. If the answer is yes, I would consider divorce very strongly. If you are strongly attached to your wife and don't want that, at the bare minimum you should ask her to get therapy because it sounds like she has some really unhealthy ideas about relationships. And these unhealthy ideas have already spread at least partially to your own relationship. Redditor 16, your wife just telegraphed to you, gave you a sneak preview to what she will do to you, to get you to be apologetic, if she engages in the same actions as her mother and makes the decision to ever step outside of her marriage on you. Will you kowtow, cave, and capitulate when it happens to you? Your wife condones infidelity. Full stop. That should have been your takeaway. Redditor 17, let me get this straight. Your wife got upset with you and shut down because you were short with her mom. You were short with her mom because you found out that the mom cheated on her husband, again. Also, the mom isn't showing any real remorse since she is saying that the cheated on spouse is just being weak. Well, the spouse never should have allowed her back into his life after the first cheating episode, but now, him standing up for himself and walking away, is definitely him flexing his muscles. Both your wife and her mother can pound sand on that one. As for you, your wife does not get to tell you how you should feel when someone tells you they have been cheated on. You can feel however in the heck you want. Wife can pound sand on that one. As for your wife, loving her mom and condoning bad behavior are not the same thing. The fact that your wife drank the Kool-Aid and agreed that the cheated on husband was just being weak and trying to curry favor, is a bad look for her. She can pound even more sand. Don't you dare apologize or make up a story about why you were short with the cheater. Your feelings are valid. You do not have to like what she did. Stand your ground on this one or you will find yourself falling for similar shit in your own relationship. Redditor 18, like mother, like daughter. They both suck. Redditor 19, as soon as my wife hung up, she lost it on me. She went to the bedroom and slammed the door about 8 times. I was confused honestly. Wow. This is excessive. I feel like I'm at a complete loss of anything else to do or say other than continuing to apologize. Oh, I would suggest that you stop apologizing. You have nothing to apologize for. Your wife is naturally going to take her mother's side over her stepfather. But there's no need for her to fly off the handle with you. Redditor 20, no apology was necessary. When Mill comes, go visit your own family.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.